Moving on to our next topic will be a Postman. The name says it all. The API world can't be made more simpler and fun. We have Praveen Matthew to talk about this. Praveen, are you with us?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, Praveen, I can hear you. Let me introduce you to the audience quickly. So Praveen has extensive quality assurance domain experience spanning around 6 years. He has worked in various domains such as industrial, data center network, and biopharma domains. He's currently based in Ireland, so he's connected from there. He's an active contributor quality assurance community and has around 9,000 plus codes in both SQA Stack Overflow forum. He has been named in the Postman community spotlight too. Thanks, Praveen, for joining in. Over to you.
I'm trying to switch on the video.
We can see you,
Okay,
but we
yeah,
cannot
thank
see
you.
your screen.
Let me share the slide.
Sure.
So thank you everyone for joining this session. So Postman, the name says it all. So you don't need any additional explanation, because from the morning, whatever sessions you have been part of, you have seen people using Postman as part of other tools also. So we cannot imagine a API world without Postman. So we will see how Postman makes the API world much more fun and interesting. So in this session, we will be talking about test
Praveen,
processes.
sorry for the interruption, but your
Yeah.
slides are not yet visible.
That I'll share that.
Yeah.
Is it visible now?
Yes, it's visible now.
Yeah, thank you. So in this session, we will be covering about test processes. What is an API? So API, then what needs to be tested when you are testing an API? What are the API testing tool options that we have available? Then why our choice was Postman? Good practices in Postman test automation. Then what is BDD and what is not? Walkthrough on Postman UI, glance at some cool features. So about me, so I have around 6 years of experience in quality domain and worked across different kind of project. So whatever I learned through all this year of experience, I make sure to share it through my Medium blog, Postman community, LinkedIn, and Stack Overflow. So feel free to get in touch with me in any of the forum if you have any suggestions or questions. So let's start. So you have seen test pyramid. So I'm just giving a glance on what it actually means. So to change some wrong mindset about the test pyramid. So previously, before we had the test pyramid, we had something called ice cream cone pattern. In ice cream cone pattern, we concentrated more on the UI automation and the manual testing. So as you know, the execution time for UI is much more. It will take more time to give you a build feedback, and also manual execution also take much more time. So it takes too much time to get a feedback about your build. If there is any issue found in your testing, then the issue will be mostly on the UI level, higher levels, and you have to do the root cause analysis to find out the issue is from backend API or is it from a component. If it is from a component, which unit is causing those issues. So it takes too much time for debugging, and again you have to fix it and retest again, go through all these hurdles. So it will take around 2 to 3 days just to fix a simple issue. So we in a business world, time is money. So we came up with something called test pyramid. So because the ice cream cone pattern was cost inefficient. In ice cream cone pattern, don't misunderstand the width of the pyramid as number of test cases. It just means that when you have proper unit test coverage, you will get good code and branch coverage. So as you go higher up the level, you cannot find use cases that ensures 100% of code coverage. You cannot hit all the code points in your source code, and it doesn't work also. And another thing, we have to make sure that in each level, our test scope is different. For example, in unit test, we will be testing only the functionality. We don't cover much of the business use case. But in integration or API and the UI, In integration, we will make sure that the interface that allows us to integrate two systems works as expected, and it gives the proper status code, gives the proper response body, etc. So here we will check all those plus the business use case. And finally in UI, we will check the business use case plus the accessibility, usability, and all other kind of things. So we have different scope in different levels. So there is no concept of overlapping test. So don't do the mistake thinking like I have this scenario or use case covered in unit test or in API, so I will skip it in UI. Don't do that, because just because your API works, you cannot guarantee that your UI component will work. So for example, login functionality works from API, but from UI, user is not able to click the login button. So it will be issue in your application. You will be sending an application that your user cannot use. So make sure that in each level you have proper number of test and test coverage. So what is an API? So from morning we have seen that API stands for application programming interface, and it is a way of making two components to interact with each other. So in simple words or the correct terms, what is an API? API is just a normal program. It is an abstract level. So take this example. So if there was no API, then the client, if it want to talk to the database or the file system, it should know the logic. It should write the code to understand how to connect to the database, and then different code to connect to the file system. So we brought in the API. In this case, the client just want to know that how to talk to the API, and all the implementation like how to contact the database, how to contact the file system, all implementation is done in your API server. So it acts as an abstract level. So all this complex logic is abstracted inside your API implementation, and the consumer or the client will just see the exposed public method. So we'll see like what is an actual API. So this is an API code that I implemented using Express. So here you can see that I'm saying that when user do a post to the post endpoint, it should give this message plus the request body whatever user has sent to this API. So whenever we talk, we say that status code 200 when a operation is successful. You can to create something in the server, we have to use post. This is a standard. This is not the way your API works. The API works the way you create it. So for example, I can use get here even to create a user. So I will show you first with post. I'm starting the API service. So you can see this is the Swagger page. It will act as a live documentation. So you can use this page for reference, like what your API endpoints do. And here you can see that there is a post request, and I'm trying to create it. I'm executing it, and you can see that I got a status code called 555. So it means that the developer can send in any status code. It's not necessary that when a action is successful, you will get 201, or if it is a client side error, you will get a 400, a server side, you will get a 500, etc. It is the way how your API is implemented. And our job as a tester is to make sure that the API implementation follows these standards, meaning the 200 status or 2xs status comes only for success. 5xs will come only for server related issue. If it is a client side issue, it should start with 4. So we as a tester we should make sure that the API is implemented in the right way. Now we will change that method to get. So I'm changing it to get and restarting the server. Now I'll go to the Postman. So in Postman, I'm changing the method to get. Now if I send it, it should not create, but my implementation is like that. Even for get, I'll create a user. So I send it, and you can see that I got the successful message saying status user was created. So just understand that the status code, the method, everything are standard. It is up to the developer how it is implemented, and our responsibility as a QA is to make sure the actual API standards are followed. So that's the basic thing about API. So APIs are just an abstract level. It's normal program with some public method exposed for the consumer. So consumer just have to call these public method, like do a get on the post, and all the implementation like connecting to the database, collecting to the file system, everything will be inside this method. Now we will go to the next session, API architectural style. So there are different architectural styles like SOAP, REST, GraphQL, gRPC, etc. In this, only SOAP and gRPC are protocol. GraphQL is a query language and REST is an architectural style. So it means that SOAP and gRPC have some standard to be followed for that to work properly. So the client and the server should follow some predefined rules, then only they can communicate with each other. REST on the other way, another side, it is just an what you say, architectural style or a recommendation. So it recommends how your response should look like, how your method should be or the endpoint should be designed, and how the request should be sent to the server. And GraphQL is a way of querying a language. So if you want to filter out a part of your response or your resource, you can use GraphQL. So Postman supports all the three: SOAP, REST, and GraphQL. gRPC feature is in their milestone. They haven't given a date when will it be released, but they are looking into that one. So we will see how Postman supports this one. So this is a REST API example to get all users. So here you can see that it is giving all your users. And for creating a user, you can same like send the user, and it also support GraphQL. So here I am saying that give only ID and episode for the film resource. So I'm sending this information, and here you can see that you are getting all the films available, but only ID and episode property are returned to you. So GraphQL is just a query language. It allows you to filter the information from the resource. Then finally, SOAP API. So in SOAP API, it have a protocol. So you have to have a standard for your how you put your request body. So you have to have a SOAP envelope endpoint. Now you will send it, and this will convert it to numeric. So the word is converted to numeric. So these are the three things that is natively supported in your Postman application. Anatomy of a HTTP REST API. So REST APIs can be implemented using different protocol, not only HTTP, but the most common implementation using HTTP. So it have an endpoint. So it means it's like an address, and then the HTTP method. It explains what kind of action user intend to do on that resource. So we have to make sure that those standards are followed. Like if the user is doing a get, only it means the user want to get some information. If it is a post, then user want to create something, etc. And header is like a metadata. So we are saying server like we are sending a JSON body or we are expecting a JSON body. All those information are sent using headers. Then we have the data, which is the actual data we will be sending to the server. And finally, we are using JSON for sending and receiving data. That is one of the form of data structure that we use to send data. We can use XML, etc., but the most common is JSON. So this is the JSON structure. So it is a key value pair. So you can have string, you can have array, and you can have object. So one thing to make sure that JSON only support double quotes for key and value. So you have to enclose both key and value using double quotes. And next one, what needs to be tested? So when you are testing an API, we have to test main 4 things: the security, JSON schema, status code, response body, and the business flow. So in security, we have to check authentication and access control, meaning that only users who are authenticated to use that system can use it. Access control means only those resources which are accessible to the user is provided. Integrity means whatever data we expect is correct, it is not corrupted during the transfer. Availability means our API service should be up and available for the consumer. Then JSON schema is like a property, like it says like how our JSON should look like a field should be number, a field should be numeric, it should not have any additional property. All those information will be there in the JSON schema. And then status code and response body. So as I mentioned, you can implement an API in any way, like you can create using get, you can get status code that doesn't make sense. It all up to the developer to implement it. And we as a QA engineers, our responsibility to make sure that these standards like success should be 200, etc. are ensured. That is why we have to validate status code and response body. And finally, the business flow. So there is something called Pareto principle, which means that 80% of your customer base uses only 20% of your features. So if we miss to cover the actual business cases, we will be creating something called error fallacy. So we have a API service that gives everything correctly, follows all the standard, highly stable. But when it goes to the customer cannot use it because none of the requirement from the customer is satisfied. So we have to make sure that all the business flow are covered in your API test. And API testing tool. There are many API testing tool like Ready API, Catalan Studio, Rust Assured, etc. So how we choose a particular tool from this one? So the main thing are community support. So whenever we have a question, is there any supportive community that you can go and ask question to? And budget and cost, like how much budget you have and how much cost it will incur to adapt a new tool. So for example, some tools will be too specific, like you can just automate API, but to manually play around with API, you have to buy another tool. So you, in long run, this will cost technical debt and it will be more, it will not be that much cost effective. Then the resource availability. So for example, your team is aware of C# for backend and JavaScript for frontend, and you as a QA engineer introduces a really new alien language like Java or Python to the team. That doesn't make sense because most of the resource knows only C# and JavaScript. So it will create a dependency on you. So you should avoid such situation and see what are the resource available in the team and the best tool suiting your need. Then technical requirement, technical complexity, and maintenance complexity, like how hard it will be to maintain as the test cases grow, how easy to transfer your knowledge to your new onboarders. So all those information you have to take into consideration. And also one more thing is that you have to go to the download site and see how frequently people are using it, what is the rate of download, rate of issues being fixed. So if you have a tool that have 1,000 issues and none of the issues are being fixed and the commit ratio is just every 2 months, then that doesn't looks good. So you have to find tools that have fast response, like whenever you raise a bug, the team comes in and try to help you, try to fix it. So all these things you have to keep in mind when choosing a tool. Then why our choice was Postman? So it is easy to use JavaScript based tool. So all the boilerplate code like creating report, building request, etc. is already done for you. And it provides rich HTML code for simple use cases. And also you can make it more flexible using JavaScript. And it provides rich HTML and ability to organize request test into collection, easy integration with CI/CD environment, and easy team collaboration with inbuilt SVN feature. So to use Postman, we only need Node.js and the desktop app and basic JavaScript knowledge. So that's the one of the most benefits of using Postman. So some of the good practice in API automation is that we have to have a reusability design and a readability design. In reusability, reuse content using variable and organize variable into environments. organize API logic into folders for complex project, and use data-driven testing. So in data-driven testing, you just have to create the base structure. Once the base structure is done, you can drive your entire automation using data-driven. So that are the main things you have to follow when you are using reusability. And for readability, you have to ensure that proper test and endpoint documentation is there, clear and easily understandable naming of request, clear and easily understandable naming of folders, and proper code logic comments. So those are the main things. Now we will go and see some interesting cool features in Postman. So the first one is visualization. So Postman allows you to visualize the data. So this is Ireland crime statistic. So if you see this data, this is called JSON stat. It is a 3-dimensional array to represent huge data. So as a human actor, you won't be understanding what it means. So in Postman, you can visualize it using HTTP handlebars. So you can see that using HTML handlebar, you can clearly visualize this one. So it shows like in different Garda station, what is the crime rate for for different offenses. So this is a really handy feature, and you don't have to write much code. You just have to write the template. You just have to write the template and then use pmvisualize.set. So you can use pmvisualizer.set and pass that template and the data, and it will be visualized for you. That is one of the interesting feature of Postman. And next one I will show it here only. Next important feature is the ability to create code from your request. So if you want to create a code in Python, JavaScript, etc., you just have to click the code button, and you can see that the code is automatically generated for you. So for Axio, for Dart, for any language, you can create the code from the Postman itself. So again, for if you are using a Python based or Java based framework, you need Postman. Like it will help you to make your work less complicated. So that's one of the interesting feature in Postman. So just have to click code and select which language you want and which tool you want. And this is an open source feature, so you can contribute to that one. And next one is API documentation. So Postman allowed to document your API and visualize it. So this is the way of documenting it, and it is using Markdown language. And once it is done, you can share
sorry
it.
to interrupt.
Yeah.
Just a time check. We have around 4 more minutes.
Okay. So you can click view documentation and you can publish it here. So I already published it here. All these collection, what I am showing it here. So you just have to click publish collection, and it will create a beautiful collection for you, and you can export that collection directly to your system, and then you can mock API service. So I'll be just quick because of the time limit. So to mock, it is too easy. You just have to create the request and create an example, and you are just responding back the example. So if you want the first response back, you can just tell a given a custom header saying 1. So it will give the response header 1. If you want the second one, you can change it to 2. And if you want to modify that one, you can just modify here to the correct one. Sorry, I chose the wrong URL. So you can see that it is returned correctly, and just modifying this, it will be changed to the correct another status you want. So it is that easy to create a mock server in Postman compared to other tool. Then you can, this is one of the important feature, and to create API schema from Swagger definition. to do that, just create a new API by clicking new and go to define. And here I showed you the Swagger page. So in Pet Store, wherever we go to Swagger page, the Swagger definition will be available from this link. There will be a link. Just copy this one and paste it here. And as you see, it is 2.0. So it is a OpenAPI version 2. And you select JSON from here and click B to format it and click save. Now you can generate the collection from here. So if you go to collection, you can see that the collection created automatically with the same structure as your Swagger page. That is a really handy feature. You don't have to create all the requests and all the parameters manually. It will be automatically created for you. So that's it. And finally, one more thing, last one, just quick one. So there is a SVN inbuilt feature. So whenever you want to make any changes, you just have to create a fork and work on that fork. So make changes on the forked item. So I'm adding some body here. I'm saving it. And then I will create a pull request. So once creating pull request, I can create a pull request by clicking this meatball menu and click. So I have to first create a mock, create a fork, test, and I'm making some changes here. I saved it, and now I'm creating a pull request. Create a pull request and give some title, and create a pull request, and go to the parent collection. And to see the pull request, go here. You can see the pull request here. And if you go to pull request, you can see what was the additional thing and what was changed. All those information will be there. This will be useful when you are working as a team, and all these features are mainly available for free version. So that is one of the main thing that interested me in Postman. So yeah, so that's pretty much about Postman, and all the example I shown here is available in my public workspace. So you can just click here. So it will take you to the public workspace, and all the collection have its own documentation. So you can use that to understand and play around more. And for API documentation also, you can download the API zip file from here. So that's it. That's it from my side. If any question, you can throw in.
If you don't mind, can you share the link?
Yeah, it will be in the PPT. I think after the talk, they will share the PPT.
Okay.
Any questions?
Dipti,
So-
you're on mute. Dipti, you're on mute, Dipti.
Sorry. Yeah, that's the question that they have. If automation of APIs is possible using Postman, can they get the reference links? That is what they're asking for.
Yeah, Postman have a really informative documentation. So if you go to their site, everything is documented. And for my cases, I'm using completely data driven. So I just create the structure, and once the structure is ready, I am passing the entire thing, like what HTTP method, what request body, what the response body, everything in a CSV file. So I can run the entire automation using the CSV file.
Hi Praveen, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, you said 80-20 principle, right? I mean, how to get that 20% feature which are used by actual users?
Yeah. No,
And
like
is there-
that is where the BDD comes in. So BDD is not about gherkins. So there is a misunderstanding that when you say about BDD, it's all about given when then. It's not the case. What BDD just talks about the function, the behavior of the system. So previously we had something called TDD, test-driven development. In test-driven development, one question came up was that what needs to be tested. No one had a clear answer for that one. So you have thousands of cases. So in what are the important, like how to prioritize from these thousands of use cases. So that's where the BDD comes in. In BDD, you as three amigos like the tester, product owner, and the developer discuss and prioritize most priority things. And then you try to explain the acceptance criteria used in a human readable form. Like when user try to do something, he should be able to see this response. It's not just about having a Cucumber or Gherkin format. It is about collaborating together and having a focused approach on testing. Like we need to prioritize things before starting. So the 80% and the 20% of use cases comes from the business side.
Okay. Thank you so much, Praveen. Due to time constraint, I think we'll have to move forward. Audience, please feel free to give your feedback for this session and help Praveen know what is the feedback for his talk. Thank you so much, Praveen, for joining us today for API Summit.
Thanks for the invite and hope it was helpful. And
yes,
feel free to get in
definitely.
touch.
This was very
through LinkedIn or
informative, and
anything.
thank you for the extensive walkthrough, Postman.
Thanks, Deepthi.